Hey everybody, welcome back to the Homeschool Helper video podcast. My name's Nick and I'm the Homeschool Helper. Hey, so today I wanted to share something really cool with you guys. I did an interview with a guy named Brent Dusing over the summer. Brent Dusing is the CEO and founder of a company called TruPlay. And you know what? I don't want to give too much away, but I do want to tell you it's a really fun conversation because we go over things about like why does Christian media often lower the bar, if you know what I mean. And this guy has put out some really interesting Christian video games that I think that you guys might actually be interested in. We get into the debate about whether we should be playing video games or not. Man, it's a really good conversation, and I hope you guys will stay and check it out. But in the meantime, I do just want to remind you guys that you are homeschool parents and you're doing a great thing. You're going to get frustrated. It's going to be hard, but you can do it. And I hope that this conversation with Brent Dusing gives you some insight into the complexities of trying to live a strong Christian life in an anti-Christian world. It's kind of tough, but I hope this interview encourages you. I hope you get something out of it. Have a great week. All right, Brent, good to have you here. Can you just introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Brent Dusing, founder and CEO of TruPlay Games. We've just released TruPlay. You can get it on your phone or your iPad or Android or iOS device. And it's a fantastic entertainment platform for families. It's got a bunch of fantastic mobile games, video content, digital comics, all of which are really fun, exciting, beautiful games and content, but also everything that we do contains God's truth. So it's a way to bring some light and some hope and some positivity in the darkness.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. I wonder, I don't know. I'd never heard about it until I found out about you guys. It sounds such like an interesting idea. I'd love to know just how you got there. Like, how did you decide to do this? How did you get started? What's that look like?
Yeah, well, we just released it on Android and iOS, so it is brand new.
Brand new, yeah.
We started the company in late 2019, and look, we were concerned. Everybody, most people who work at TruPlay, we're parents just like you, and in fact, a lot of our employees are homeschool parents, homeschool households. Now, not all of us, but many are, and but also people who work here are also truly world-class professionals. I mean, we have people who have worked at some of the biggest name tech companies in the world who've made video games that probably a lot of you listening have played, or one of our authors has written books that have sold over 3 million copies in the Christian world. Another one is a very heavily followed author on social media. So we have a phenomenal team who are very concerned about the following issue. Things are really bad for our kids today. Unfortunately, anxiety and depression rates are all-time highs for kids. There's a lot of toxic content kids are exposed to at very young ages, very inappropriate content. And unfortunately, the worst statistic of all is, while compared to 62% of Americans over 40 years old believe in God, only 32% of children. Right. And it's because the average the average child's on a screen 52 and a half hours a week.
It's a lot.
But they're only at church 30 minutes a week, because only half of Americans go to church and you're there for an hour. So you're getting 100 hours a week of neutral to toxic content, and 30 minutes a week, unless you homeschool or you're a very intentional parent, bringing God's truth. So what we're trying to do at TruPlay is we want to serve families. We're bringing, again, really fun, entertaining stories, games, experiences right to your fingertips. It's a safe, trusted experience. With everything that's gone on lately in the media, there's a lot of a thrust to keep kids safe. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this, the reason you don't have your kids in school is because you don't trust what they might get taught at school. And we're very empathetic to that. And we're coming alongside parents to say, hey, this is something that you can trust. It's safe. There's no in-app purchases. There's no ads. There's no strangers chatting, right? But it's also fun and exciting and beautiful. And by the way, we're going to talk about God. We're going to talk about the Bible. We're going to talk about Jesus. But we're going to do it in an engaging way in the storytelling that's hopefully very relatable to everybody out there.
Yeah. No, I remember when I was younger, I think we had like a Christian game on, I think it was like Nintendo 64 or something. I don't remember. I just remember there was something where it was like, I think I got to play as Moses or something weird like that.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, there
remember
was
it.
an old Moses game 25 years ago. But I will say some of our listeners may remember my co-founders and I built a company back in the days. Excuse me, I'm coming over a cold, so I apologize if you're listening. We built a game 12 years ago or so called Journey of Jesus and Journey of Moses, and a game called Stained Glass. They were on Facebook. And so you remember when the days when there games on Facebook, like Farmville and So we built games that told explicitly biblical narratives, and we had over 7 million people globally play these games.
Wow.
And so we built, and we saw very high, engagement rates. People really enjoyed them. The core audience played the Journey of Jesus game for 9 years. So we got pretty good as a team at, how do you build games that people really have fun with, that they stick with, but that also tells a biblical story. But then what we did at TruPlay is we just, the quality of the team is just truly, truly world-class and phenomenal. And so that what that shows up as is the quality of the products inside the TruPlay app, that all the games that are available inside it, and all the content, storytelling, and the comics. And by the way, I guess I should mention, we have a partnership with the Action Bible. Many of you listeners, you might have the Action Bible at your house.
Yeah, we have that.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites and my son's favorite kids' Bible. And so we have their comics in the TruPlay platform as well. And we're adding, by the way, new stuff all the time, new comics from Action Bible, new stuff we're making. So there's always something new to see, as well as enjoy the things that are already there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think one of the things I'm curious about, like, I feel like there's a problem in any sort of Christian entertainment industry where for some reason, I don't understand, these things that we put out tend to be of lower quality. And I don't get it. It seems weird to me, but tell me kind of, it's based on what I've seen. It seems like you guys have something different. You guys have something a little bit upper, like a little bit better. And I'm just curious, like, how did you go about making something that is high quality and also, engages us with scripture and things like that?
Yeah, it really started with setting out principles. What are we trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
What's the problem we're trying to solve? So the problem, as I said, is that our kids are just getting so much toxicity thrust upon them, mostly from screens, also from there's other sources in our society too, unfortunately. But we're going to go after, when kids are going to be on screens, how do we get something in front of them that conveys God's truth? Now, we live in a world where there's so many media choices. You really can't force kids after the age of about 5 years old. They've got to engage and choose to get involved, which means it's got to be fun and exciting, right? And I'm sure most of our listeners, you grew up enjoying the Star Wars movies, the first Marvel movies they made, 10 years ago. Great movie, and not really much offensive back then, frankly. Now, recently, different story. But so you've got a lot of things that are telling you, okay, we've got to build something that's really fun and really engaging and really high quality. And we've been doing this for over 10 years as a core team, and the people we've brought on have come from industry-leading world-class organizations where they've been doing this for many cases for 2 or 3 decades. So we start out with, what are our principles? It's got to be fun. It's got to be beautiful. We serve a God of beauty, and I think sometimes we forget that as Christians, that God makes beautiful things. It's not just about the message, it's also how it's delivered, how it looks.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, why would there be rainbows and waterfalls and beautiful faces, right? It's third, it's got to be done with excellence, right? So it's got to work well, it's got to work smoothly. And then, but of course, it's got to convey God's truth. We're not just here to entertain. We're here to uplift, to edify, to either grow your faith or maybe introduce you to God if you don't know him. And so it's been certainly, you know, we've been blessed to be able to raise quite a bit of capital, to be able to hire great people, to be able to build great stuff. But we've also had to keep a high bar to stick to our principles of, no, we've got to build things that are just as good or better as kids' other entertainment choices on the App Store. And by the way, our data that we're seeing, our usage for the kids are using, and TruPlay shows that they are. I mean, it shows that they're enjoying it. And the comments we're getting and the ratings on the App Store, you know, we're near perfect rating on the App Store. And the comments we're getting from people, and even, you know, what they're seeing and how lives are changing is really been awesome.
That's fantastic. So tell us about what games you guys are offering, what games you guys have made, and like, tell us about that.
Yeah, so at TruPlay, we think about the app. You know, it's one app you can go into, and it's a trusted place, and there's all kinds of content choices. So some of our games are going to be stories and experiences right from the Bible. We have a game called Stained Glass. Stained Glass is a game that you match these puzzle pieces, these glass pieces, you form a stained glass window. The stained glass window comes to life, and a character from the Bible tells you their story. So Eve will tell you, what was it like to live in the Garden of Eden? Then Noah talks about what's his experience to have to build the ark.
Yeah.
Sarah tells you her story, what it felt like to go through the events, you know, recounted in Genesis about Abraham.
Okay.
But it's more from a first person, like kind of like you and I are talking,
Right.
and less of being preached to, which nothing wrong with that. But for entertainment purposes, it's more like, what if you just got to sit and have a one-on-one heart-to-heart?
So it's like I play through a level, I beat it, and then after that, a character from the scripture will kind of talk to me and tell me their story.
Well, yes, almost. You've got to complete a few levels so you get enough glass pieces to build your stained glass window. Once you build
okay.
Then it comes to life, and then you get a little bit of story, and it kind of continues on and on. Another game we are releasing later this year is a game called King David's Battles. You know, King David is, by many people's view, the most exciting character in the Old Testament, and yet, if you think about it, there haven't really been a lot of great movies or games about him. I mean, right? It's a 3,000-year-old story. It's phenomenal. In fact, I was just in Israel personally, and you can go to Jerusalem and see the tunnels where he went inside that are talked about in 2 Samuel, when the way they took over Jerusalem from the Jebusites. You will walk through those tunnels. It's amazing. So one of the most fascinating, exciting characters and stories in world history, and yet there's almost nothing about the guy from an entertainment standpoint. You know, there was you know, and so we have a game coming out about him, and you play his game and his story. And one of the points in the King David game is it's about a young boy becoming a man.
Right.
And unfortunately, in our culture, we don't do a good job of that anymore. We used to. You know, I grew up in the 80s, and I had entertainment, you know, icons that I was watching, people like Luke Skywalker and Christopher Reeve's version of Superman.
Yeah.
And where they really were, you know, were they Christian stories? No, but they were, you could see they were based on essentially a Christian culture, a Christian foundation. In a lot of ways, Superman is essentially a Christian story message, right? And so you had these people who were kind of sacrificing for the greater good and going from being young and inexperienced to kind of stepping forward in boldness and courage. We don't have that anymore. You know, I don't even know if you could ask someone on the street to define what a man is, and you'd even get the same answer from 10 different people. You know what I'm saying? Right. Yeah. So that's what that's about. Now, turning the page about what else is in TruPlay, we also have a whole lot of characters devoted to what we call the Rimverse. So the Rimverse is, you can see on my t-shirt, a little bunny rabbit with a tiger costume called Maple. And so Maple is a little girl who believes in God, and she's very headstrong and doesn't always pronounce her words correctly, doesn't always listen to other people's opinions, but definitely has a heart of gold. She's trying to do the right thing. And she goes into this adventure where she learns there's a lot, there's this kind of evil queen that's corrupted and twisted the meaning of truth. And she's eradicated the Bibles in their culture. Yeah. And so Maple and her friends learn about that, and they have to kind of work towards how do we bring truth back. into the society that we're in. There's another game that we have called Oliver and the Vindictive Vine. So Oliver is a boy. He's adopted. He's nerdy,
Oh.
and he's kind of on the fence about God. He's heard about God, but he's not so sure. He's not really sure, why should we pray? What's the point? He's got a lot of unanswered questions, and winds up going on this big adventure with Maple, where he not only learns courage, but also learns more about who God is and how that works inside his life. There's another character called Lucas, who's a skunk and a crocodile, who built himself a crocodile robot outfit that flies and shoots laser beams. But his brother died a year ago.
Oh.
And he's having a hard time with that, and it doesn't all make sense. And he goes on some grand adventures into space, and also learns a little bit more about who God is in his life. And so the point is, in the Rimverse, it's characters that are fantastical. It's animal characters and animal costumes, and there's laser beams and bad guys and, sword fights and fireballs getting thrown at people. But there's also scripture, and there's prayer, and God shows up, and there's, despite the fact that there are some difficulties thrown at children, some in their personal life and some of the bad guys they face, there's a way that you can work with that, through God, with God, through your problem. And that's really part of the message of the Bible.
That's amazing, man. I just think it's really cool that your team is just focusing on ways to make gaming just more life-giving. Because I think as parents, we watch our kids playing games all the time, and we lament the fact that we've let them even maybe play these games, and we wish that there was something else that we could kind of guide them into. And I think this is a really great alternative. Let me ask you, so you said it's like on the App Store, right? Like if I want to play TruPlay, I download just the TruPlay app?
Yes.
Okay, so I download that app, and then I have access to all these other games
that are inside the app.
that app. Okay.
Just like if you've used, Netflix, or if you've used, Amazon Prime, you download it, and then there's a bunch of things right there. That's how our app works. You download TruPlay, you subscribe. There's a bunch of games there. The comics are right there. The video content is right there. And you can play, one game for hours and hours, and then jump out and play the next game. But it's all contained inside the app. There's no ads. There's no in-app purchases. There's no strangers chatting with your kids. We also allow multiple profiles. So it's one subscription for your whole family. So if you have a lot of kids, and a lot of Christians do, then no problem. You can trade out, so that way, people don't use all your winnings from one game, and, or advanced past your level. You can compete. Actually, one of the funny things we find is, a lot of parents enjoy our content too. We did a lot of testing, and we test the kids, earlier on, what do you think about the game, and what do we need to change? And then the parent would say, hey, can I try it too? And we watch as parents are playing with their children and competing. Hey, I did better than you in Little Light. So there's a game where you fly this light, kind of based on this little light of mine, nursery rhyme.
Yeah. And
you try to light up so many candles without crashing. And so, as people competing there, or competing in the Oliver game, where you're running through the forest, to see kind of who can get further and who can beat each other's score. So it's been a fun moment, because I'm a parent too. And we're parents at TruPlay, just like you. If you're listening, we're parents. We have your heart for, my gosh, why isn't anybody doing something for our kids? And that's why we're here. We heard that call. And so what's a nice benefit is, it's harder as a parent having experiences you can enjoy with your kids. When you have kids, you want to have something. Okay, what's some movies we can watch together? Well, in the olden days, let's watch The Lion King. Let's watch the first 3 Star Wars movies. Let's watch, no problem, right? Most of the Disney princess movies back in the day. But in the last 3 or 4 years, it's been harder to find new stuff that you can trust, that you're going to enjoy, that your kids can enjoy, because too often everybody's off on their own device, and there's toxic content you got to be careful for. So what's been nice is the ability for families to have that shared experience with TruPlay.
Absolutely, man. I am a big believer in playing with my kids in games and stuff. I know my oldest, she's 13, and she's into like Roblox games. She loves Minecraft. things like that. And when I can actually sit with her and kind of play along with her, I know that that enhances her enjoyment of that, and just like our relationship, like just her knowing that I'm interested in the things that she is. And so if there's stuff like this that I don't have to worry is weird or something awkward is going to pop up that I can also engage with, that is a huge plus. That's really cool. So
Yeah.
I want to ask you, so what would you say to a homeschool parent who, or any parent really, who is wary of their kids playing games at all? And maybe the reason for that is they've never really known that something like this exists. So like a parent that thinks that games are just not good for their kid at all, what
Sure.
would you say to a parent like that?
Yeah, I'd say three things. The first is that it's the message, not the medium, right? You can watch a fantastic Christian movie. You think about the Passion of the Christ or the Jesus Revolution movie, or you can watch, really bad pornographic movies, right? You can read the Bible, or you can read really awful books with a whole bunch of inappropriate content, right? So I think what's happened in certain parents' opinions, they see their kids playing toxic video games with, content that's too sexual, too violent,
Yeah.
too inappropriate, maybe too demonic, and like, well, games are bad. No. That content is bad.
Right.
The people who made that content should have known better. Frankly, they did know better, but that doesn't mean the medium. No different that you wouldn't throw out all your books because somebody brought home something that was, a hyper violent book, or a
Yeah.
book that was contained inappropriate sexual content. You wouldn't throw all your books out of your house. So it's the same way. That's the first thing I'd say. The second thing I would say to those parents is, video gaming is actually, because it's interactive, there is that opportunity to increase learning. And here's what I mean. Some people learn by hearing, some learn by reading, some learn by doing. And video gaming is a similar form to doing. When we built the game Journey of Jesus, which we built that game 10 years ago on Facebook, and we're bringing it back to the TruPlay platform in the upcoming months. It still stands as the most successful Christian video game ever. So you played the gospel story of Jesus. You didn't play Jesus, but you played somebody who followed him. And we played through, it was like hundreds of hours of content you could play through. And we had people tell us, and this is kind of my third point to them, that they understood the Bible in a way they hadn't before. Because some people only learn by doing things themselves and kind of going through the experience. And it has helped a lot of people, because we've seen testimonies, and you can go to our website at TruPlayGames.com and see people's testimonies of, wow, this changed my life, or this helped me understand the Bible in a different way. We had 25,000 people come to Christ through the games we made previously. And I think God's going to use TruPlay to reach a lot more than that. It can really make a difference in people's life for the positive.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And I would agree. I think that I think there's a way to look at these, particularly these kind of games, as almost like a supplementary form of like Christian education, where there's a way for them to both be entertained and learn at the same time, which I know homeschool families are looking for all over the place, ways to kind of add and enhance what they're doing. And yeah, that's fantastic. I'm curious, what was your kind of gaming experience growing up? Like, were you a really big gamer growing up, or what was your experience?
I was a child of the 80s. I was born in the late 70s. So the 80s was my childhood. And, for those of you who are old enough to remember this, when the Nintendo Entertainment System came out, that was a step function to video games. If you've ever, it was what Nintendo Entertainment System was to video games, what Star Wars was to movies. If you watch a science fiction movie before Star Wars or after, it's night and day.
Yeah.
And same thing with games with a Nintendo. Just the level of the graphic quality, as well as the designs that Shigeru Miyamoto did with Mario Brothers, Zelda, Metroid, and a few others. Everything was so much better and different. It was immersive. And so I played a lot of Mario Brothers and Zelda, as a lot of 80s kids did.
Yep.
played some in the early 90s, and then, got into kind of later high school, and, was maybe, other forms of entertainment were a little more interesting at a point, and then kind of got back a little bit into gaming in, I guess kind of the mid 2000s. So I've kind of, and I used, the other thing is I've always personally played and also designed tabletop games, so board games or those kind of things. So I would grow up kind of making some games that my friends would come over and actually ask to play. So it was something that's kind of always been part of my fun and experience.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really cool. So how would you describe kind of like the long-term vision for TruPlay? Like, where do you guys see this going in the future?
Yeah, we're really building a TruPlay, an entertainment platform for families, and that we hope that everything we do is done with a high level of entertainment and fun. It's beautiful, but it also conveys God's truth. So our vision is to keep building more games, more video content, even more immersive experiences as the entertainment options continue to grow, as technology continues to develop, so that the reason we're here and what our vision is we want to see a whole generation changed. I mean, think about how, like I said, only 32% of children believe in God in America, and that's sad. But then you ask yourself, well, where else would they hear it unless they go to church? I mean, there's almost nowhere. I mean, except for you folks out there who are homeschooling, that kids aren't getting it anywhere but their church. And so by bringing God's truth in to the youngest generation, the most vulnerable, Jesus said, "Let the little ones come to me." I'm going to paraphrase, but he made a comment around like, "Don't mislead my little ones." Well, our whole society's been doing that for the last 20 years, right? 30 years, misleading the little ones. Well, our whole vision, our whole dream, our whole purpose is to reverse that. Let's redeem the next generation. Let's stand up for kids. Let's give, parents, and I know what it's like from being pretty close to homeschool families. It's not an easy road because you got one parent working, another parent also working as a full-time, homeschool teacher, and it's not an easy road. And you feel like so many things are working against you. And our vision is, no, we're coming alongside you. The content companies, they make this toxic stuff, and then somebody complains, "Hey, why is there drug use in this game for 10-year-olds? Why is there sexual content in this movie for 5-year-olds?" And the media comes and say, "Oh, well, you should just do a better job as a parent watching what your kid does." That's kind of like saying, "Yeah, well, there's a hurricane coming and it destroyed your house. You should have held up your arms." No, man. No, it's you shouldn't have made that content. And so we're coming alongside parents, right, and saying, "Hey, here's something that we really want you to be able to utilize for you and your family, and we hope you enjoy it too personally. And let's all come together." And our vision is this movement where we see quality Christian content happening and changing the outcomes for kids. Look at what's happening with what The Chosen's done. Look at what the Jesus Revolution movie's done. Look at what The Sound of Freedom's done, where you start to see this shift. Now you look at all those products, and they're high quality, they're well done, but they're also conveying God's truth, each in their own way, but right. And so that's the thing. The more that happens, and especially, but yet nobody's paying attention to stuff for younger kids. But we got to raise those kids up and see that whole generation change, because it once you see that start to change and tip, it'll transform the whole way society's going from right now, which is I think all of us would agree we're in a cultural nosedive. To, well, what if we went from 30% to 40 to 50 to over 50% of that Generation Z, believing in God? How different could the world be?
Absolutely, man. That's amazing. Do you guys see like branching out beyond gaming, or do you feel like you want to stick right inside that lane?
Absolutely. You can see inside TruPlay 2 animated shorts that we've made, which we're really excited about, and we're actually going to be, if that's something that's interesting to you, if you're listening, we're going to be having something come out in the upcoming months about how we're going to be building more of that and how you can get involved in helping build that out. We're already doing comics. We have comics we make. We have a partnership with the Action Bible. We are in some conversations with some other organizations that produce great Christian content and getting their stuff on our platform too. So yeah, we're going to be doing a lot. We're going to be doing a lot of, like I said, everything we do it's going to be fun. It's going to be beautiful, but it's also going to convey God's truth to you, whether it's, the story of King David, or whether it's a little girl in a bunny rabbit in a tiger costume, charging through the forest. We want people to experience, Jesus Christ, to realize, look, the Bible is God's operating system for us, to know that God loves you, that God has he loves you and he cares about you. And there's a real plan that he has for each individual person. And he wants a relationship with you. And that's a message for everybody in the world.
Yeah. Man, I think that what y'all are doing is just absolutely right on target with what our world needs. And like you point out great examples, like just looking at like Jesus Revolution, Sound of Freedom, even going back to like The Passion and the recently like The Chosen, like when people put out quality Jesus focused content, people engage. They want to see it. It's a definite need and a desire, not even just in the Christian community. Like I know people like just recently, like Sound of Freedom, like that they're not necessarily Christian people, like they just see a good thing is out there, they want to go see it, and it affects them in a positive way. Like I think that's one of the cool things that these games can do, is if high quality, exciting content will draw people in. And honestly, man, that's what the scripture is in general. It's high quality, exciting content. You talk about the David story, like that's one of the most intriguing stories, period. And people beyond just Jesus people are interested in this content. And if there's a way to make it where people like, where it's well done and it's exciting, it's going to draw people in. And I think that's truly like the heart of the gospel, is like pointing out to people that this is engaging and exciting. And if you'll just give it a chance, it can change your life. And I think
I completely agree. We when we built our previous games, of the 7 million people who played, we surveyed a third were not Christians. We did another survey 2 years ago as we were building the TruPlay platform. We surveyed 500 non-Christian families, and 58% said they'd be likely to subscribe to TruPlay. Why? Because most parents are tired of the toxic content. People don't, it doesn't matter if you go to church or not, you don't want to take your 5-year-old and expose them to some sexual content in a cartoon. Who wants that, right? And so there's so much desire from parents, and not just in America, but all over the world, to say, hey, I want my kid, yes, I want them to have fun, but I want them, first of all, to be safe. And boy, wouldn't it be great if it helped improve their life rather than drag their life down? And that's, that's true for Christians. It's true for a lot of non-believers. Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. Well, I think this is great what you're doing. I'm really excited about that David one coming out. I think that's going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to that. But man, I just want to thank you for your time today and for telling us all about this new gaming platform. And I want to encourage anyone who's listening or watching to this to go out there and check it out. What is the website? It's TruPlayGames.com.
TruPlayGames.com. Yeah, you can absolutely subscribe on the website. You can purchase through there and then download on your Android or iOS device, or go straight through the App Store. Either way, but please check it out and follow us on social media. And by the way, appreciate you guys out there in the homeschool community. We're my head of marketing is a homeschool parent. We have a lot of homeschool parents at the company, and we know that it's a real need, and we hope this is something that's a blessing for your family. And by the way, help us spread the word and share, because we really are building a movement at TruPlay. We feel at TruPlay that parents make the best parents, not the government, not somebody else's agenda in some faraway place you don't know, but you and you, because you're anointed by God to raise your child. That's why God gave you the child, right? So we want to kind of come alongside, and we need everybody's help in this movement to come along, support TruPlay. We're going to have t-shirts and merchandise available very shortly that people can also utilize, and so we hope it's something that everybody enjoys.
I think they will. I recommend it. Y'all get out there, check it out. Brent, again, thank you so much for your time. I hope you're feeling better. I know you're not feeling super well.
I'm actually feeling great. It's the lingering effects of the cold.
Yeah.
I'll be fine. Thank you.
It's no fun. But hey, thank you again. Appreciate your time. And thanks everybody for checking it out.
Thank you.